everybody, to the Mediocreleaguecast, the first episode. Today is Saturday, the 22nd of February, 2014. I'll be your host, Nick Houston, also known as Ted Ghost 132. Joining me will be Brad Konerman, also known as Zeismo.
What's going on?
And Joshua Dabney, also known as Beeson21.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Alright, so to kick things off, we're just going to kind of go over what this podcast is going to be about. It's going to be mostly for new people, new players, low elo people that have maybe been stuck in bronze for a while. We're all just a bunch of guys trying to get better at the game. We've recently started taking it more seriously. We're all trying to get our ranks up. We're trying to figure out how to play better, and we're trying to figure out how we can improve ourselves and our understanding of the game. So you want to have anything to add to that?
No, that's pretty much it. I mean, I just look at it as more of like a beginner's guide, trying to, if you don't really know too much about specific champions, those are the types of things that we're going to go over. Some of the experiences that we've had, some of the things that we see from other players that maybe people can work on, just stuff like that.
Yeah, we're definitely learning by our own mistakes, so we're just trying to share that.
Yeah.
Well, with that, we'll go over everyone's current status in League of Legends. Let's start off with Beastum.
Currently, I'm a Gold 5. I primarily play support, and I occasionally play a little top lane, and I've just started learning how to jungle. I know it sounds awful, but I didn't understand jungle for the longest time, and I'm starting to get the hang of it a little bit, but I'm still awful. But primarily support, focusing mainly on like tankier supports, although I do play a little Annie or Karma sometimes, and even a little Sona if I have to, but primarily Leona, Thresh, those types of champions as far as bot lane support go.
Have you been winning recently?
Yes and no. It's been rough lately. I don't know why. Partially because of the servers. The last couple of games, it's always been something like the last game I played last night, the ADC didn't even connect for like the first 10 minutes of the game. So of course bot lane just pushes all the way up to like the middle tower. So it was awful. So we lost that game. But I mean, winning and losing, just going back and forth. Haven't really been able to make much progression.
Zeismo, how have you been doing?
The
ill-fated question.
I'm Zeismo. I'm currently I think I'm Silver 5 right now, but I'm a Silver caliber player. I mostly play mid and jungle, and I've recently picked up top lane. Some of the things that I'm really trying to improve on in the game is just mechanics and not making the mistakes of overextending or keeping my creep score high. Just like the basics, pretty much. I'm trying to get to gold. So.
All right. And I don't mean to pick on you, but how's your winning been going?
I think we covered this in our main podcast too. I think it was, if I remember correctly, a week and a half ago, I was in qualifiers for Silver 2. And I remember I did at least 4 qualifiers for Silver 2, and all of them I was unsuccessful. I remember seeing the message. And then today I'm Silver 5. I think over like the last week and a half, I think I've lost like 20 something games and only won like 8. It's been pretty rough.
You've got the struggle going on.
Dude,
full blast.
And I can't even blame like the elo for it, man. I look at every game and I see all the mistakes that I make. But the fact that I'm getting like, out of every 5 games, one of them is due to the fact that I'm playing a 4v5 or because somebody's intentionally feeding me because they didn't get the role that they wanted. And I don't know, it's frustrating.
Yeah. What was that game you said you just played where you were Vayne, where you like almost carried your 4v5 because of Wukong left it like 3 or 4 minutes in?
Yeah, he left it like 3 or 4 minutes in, and I got top lane, and the other team picked Mundo, and I wanted to play Riven, but I was like, well, I might as well counter Mundo, so I ended up taking Vayne, and the whole team was like, oh, this idiot top, he's gonna throw the game, and like right after Wukong left, I was I think 3-0 and like ahead by 20 CS on this Mundo. So I mean, we almost won, but they drug it out long enough to where they could catch up, and they ended up just running us down with numbers.
Yep. All right. Well, for me personally, I just got into Silver 3. It's my first real season where I've even been playing ranked. I think I played the preseason for this season, and I got Silver 3 in my placements. This season, my placements weren't nearly as good. I got like bronze 2 on my placements because 4 out of 10 of my matches had DCs in them, so that was fun. But I've already got myself back up to silver 3. I've been just steadily climbing the ladder. I mostly play jungle or top or mid. I can play pretty much any lane fairly well except for bottom lane. I don't like playing bot lane. I don't like having to play ADC or support and have to worry about the other person doing stuff. So those are my terrible lanes.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too, man. Like when you're talking about bot lane, like you can be a really good support or a really good ADC, but half of the battle in solo queue with bot lane is trying to find that mesh between the player that you're playing with, and like trying to find that
trying to sync
sweet
with the
spot,
other person
right.
you're with. It's like, what are they going to do? Am I going to have to save this person from something?
Right.
Or it just depends. But I think mostly this season I've pretty much been in the jungle almost the entire time. I've been playing Udyr in the jungle and have been having a lot of success with him. So that's where we're all at currently. That's what everyone's doing. So we're just kind of going to move into our next segment here, our champion spotlight of the week. This is something that we're going to do every week. We're going to pick a champion at random at the beginning of every week. We're going to try to learn the ins and outs of that champion. We're going to play games with them. And we're going to try to understand that champion as well as we can. So this week we got Caitlyn. So we're going to talk about Caitlyn. And since none of us like ADC really, then it's probably not going to be our best, but we're going to go over it anyway. Yeah. So, guys, what do you think about Caitlyn?
Like, for me as a support, I like playing with Caitlyn, especially when I play with Leona, because we have so much range and engageability. I don't even know if that's a real word, but
it is now.
Just, I can just dash in with my Zenith Blade, and she doesn't even have to get close enough, you know what I mean? Like, most AD champions, when I dash in, they have to run a considerable amount just to get close enough to auto attack. With her, it doesn't really take all that. Plus, with her combos, with the traps and her Q and things like that, I think she's a really great ADC champion. Now, granted, she's very slow. She has very slow movement speed, and she has slow auto attacks. But that can be overcome with, just skill of moving in and out in between the other team's auto attacks, using your passive to your advantage, things like that. I like playing with Caitlyn. I think she's a lot of fun if played well. If not, bad Caitlyns are bad. I mean, they feed very easily. If they don't know how to use their traps to stun champions or use their net to go over walls or get away, I've been around a lot of bad Caitlyns. And that doesn't mean that I'm good, but I mean, Caitlyn's like one of those champions. Like if you really don't know how to play her well, then it shows.
Yeah, Caitlyn has a lot of range, and you need to use the range to your advantage. When people kind of forget about that and they move in too close to where the other people can hit them,
right,
they start doing really badly. Zeismo, what do you think about Caitlyn?
Well, I was gonna throw in my little 2 cents here. A lot of the pros play Caitlyn. She's a really popular pick right now. But one of the things that I've noticed since I'm not really sitting in one like division in ranked, I jump so much. I'll be anywhere on the list when we're picking champions. So I find myself on the bottom a lot. And a lot of times I have to fill. So when I fill ADC, I found that Caitlyn's a really safe pick because of her range. She has the longest auto attack range out of all the ADCs, I think, except for Trist at max level or something like that.
Yeah, when Trist gets max level, her range gets higher.
So what I found is, since I'm not a good ADC, like I'm just trying to play passive, and I'm just trying to not feed the other lane. So my whole goal is just sitting in the back and just kind of poking off at my CS the whole game. That's why I like Caitlyn a lot, is because I think that she's a really safe pick, even if you don't really know what you're doing.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've found with her too. ADC is not my best role, but I don't think I'm terrible at ADC really. I've been playing like a Lucian a lot recently whenever I have to do it, so I've been kind of learning ADC. It's been one of my goals this season to try to learn how to do it. And Caitlyn, I never really played a lot, but I've been picking her recently, and she is just really strong just because she can keep such a good distance when she's farming. She can, she can farm safely. She can harass safely. You don't have to put yourself in the danger zone when you're Caitlyn, and unless you just get caught out of position or you're overextended or stuff. So you have to be aware of just some of the basics with the game like map awareness and things like that, and you can be a good Caitlyn because the
Map
champion takes
awareness
care of itself.
is huge, though, man. And I think that's maybe what I hate about is some players that play Caitlyn is they'll use her net to like get closer to the enemy so that they can like try and secure a kill, but then you just lost all of your escape. So if someone comes in and ganks the lane, then you're just running at 325 run speed, you know what I mean? So you're pretty much dead. So like watching stuff like that is frustrating, and that's what I say is like if you're bad with Caitlyn, it'll show. So people that typically do that, they'll try to like secure a kill by netting to get closer, or just to engage in a fight for some reason because they're not used to the range of her abilities. Like even her Q has a really long range. Like you shouldn't have to net to jump in, and you'll see that a lot.
One of the things with Caitlyn, you'll see a good Caitlyn, before they ever engage, they'll throw a trap right in front of themselves. So that way, if somebody does try to chase them or if they get into a sticky situation, that trap's right there. So the person's either going to have to run over the trap or they're going to have to run around it. So it's going to buy her a little bit of time to get out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's kind of go over some of her abilities first, and we'll just go down the list. Her passive, it's called Headshot. Every 8th, 7th, or 6th auto attack, it's enhanced to be a headshot. It deals 150% damage to a champion or 250% damage to a minion. And as you go up levels, it'll become that 8th, 7th, or 6th shot. One thing I noticed with this ability, it's really great for poking at early game because it does that 50% extra damage. So usually you can just kind of last hit minions, or you don't even have to last hit the minions really. You can just kind of poke at the minions some, and then as soon as you get that shot in, you just hit it on the ADC, does a lot of damage, and then you just go back to farming.
Yeah, Josh was mentioning something before we started recording about this too. If you want to, mention that, Josh, out of the bushes.
Yeah, basically, whenever you auto attack from the bushes, it counts as 2 auto attacks towards your passive. So, say you need 8 to fulfill your headshot passive. Well, if you're auto attacking 4 times in the bush, then you'll have it by then. So sometimes you can change it up. You can jump in the bush real quick, auto attack, and that'll throw the other ADC off. Because at lower elos, people don't know that type of stuff. And the higher elos you get, maybe they're counting your auto attack, so they know when to start scooting back and preparing for it. But at lower elos, they don't know about that kind of thing.
Yeah, they don't expect that bursty damage.
And basically, those guys are just, even if they're maybe looking at your animation, because when you get your headshot, like your gun will glow, and that's when they know or you know that you have it. But if you just hop in the bush every once in a while, last hit a minion, and then that'll be 2. And if you're paying attention to it, then you can kind of surprise the ADC at that point. So it's kind of a good thing to keep a heads up on. Because 150% plus damage is crazy. Like that's huge.
Especially at early levels, if you take your Q first, you can get that passive off and then use your Q, and if you can hit that, then that's a lot of damage that you did, even at level 1 to the other person.
Especially if like a lot of I was playing an in-house tournament the other day, and we ran against a Kate Zyra bot, and just like the poke and the range on that combo was so ridiculous. And it pretty much, Zyra, when she would root, whoever, it would pretty much guarantee a 25% of their health was going to be gone after that engagement. So
yeah. All right, her next ability, it's called Piltover Peacemaker. And basically it's just it's damage that shoots in a line. Instead of just reading the whole thing verbatim. Mm-hmm. It's just you shoot, you use your Q. It
charges up, I think, over like a half a second or something like that.
Yeah, it's like a second charge.
Yeah, so it's like a quick half a second, and then it fires in a straight line wherever you aim it. It damages everything in that line.
But it loses damage for every subsequent target it goes through. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, and it's a lot of percentages and things like that. And instead of just going over all those, because the numbers don't mean a whole lot at this point, you just have to know that it's pretty much your harassment ability, and it's your team fight ability.
Yeah, it's your wave clearing ability, harassment, those types of things.
I've
noticed with her Q is people will use, we'll talk about her trap here in a second, but they use that in sort of like a mini wombo combo. They'll place the traps down and hoping that you'll step on them because you get a stun from the trap. And what they'll do is they'll trap you and then Q real quick because you can't move. So that's just 2 things of damage that are just popping off right there.
And after a while, auto attack as well.
Yeah, and maybe even an auto attack if she has headshot up or something crazy.
She just rolls out.
That's just like a real quick burst of damage, and it's nuts. But yeah, those are just some of the things you can do with Q. It's a really strong ability for her, especially when she has all that range, and that just gives her another extra range just to throw at you.
For people who are playing bot lanes, either against or as Caitlyn, a lot of your duels against your bot lanes are going to come down to whether or not you can land that Q. That's what it really comes down to.
And one thing I see people do is sometimes, you don't always just have to fire off your Q right off the bat. Sometimes it'd be better to auto-attack at some distances or something, or try to kite somebody back. Because when you're firing that Q, you're not moving. So if someone's coming into you, you may not want to use it right away.
Right.
Like, that's something I see with people whenever I get stuck in support, and they have a Caitlyn, or I'm with a Caitlyn. Like we were saying in the beginning, you have the most range out of any ADC aside from Tristana late game. You need to use your range.
Yeah, and you'll see it a lot in lower levels. Like, people just panic spam abilities. They're like, oh, someone's ganking me, I better just spam all of my abilities right now. And then not knowing, that 1 second when you're paused right there, that is like 1 extra second. So say you're facing an Olaf, that 1 second could be just the amount of distance he needs to throw his Q at you and slow you. So those are like some of the things, or Vi, whenever she charges up her ability and punches you, like that could be just close enough for her. Instead, you could be, auto-attacking and scooting back and doing damage and then netting away and then queuing if you were at a good distance.
Right, because they're slowed at that point if you caught him with that net. Yeah,
the best way that I've seen to use it basically is you don't just use it at the beginning of a fight. You kind of poke at them and kite around. And then you'll usually get them pretty low after a while, and they'll have to back up, and then you hit them with the Q at a distance, if you can manage to hit it.
Yeah. Or you can just use it as a finisher. Maybe they're getting underneath the tower, so you can go.
Yeah, you know the path that they're going to have to take around that tower.
And then net back so that you're out of the tower range again.
Well, let's move on to her next ability. It's her W. It's called Yordle Snap Trap.
Them kooky spooks.
Them kooky spooks. But she puts a trap down. It lasts for quite a while, 4 minutes each, and she can set 3 of them. So she can set 3 traps that last for 4 minutes each. If someone steps on it, it does some magic damage, and also they're immobilized for 1.5 seconds, and it grants vision on them. So it's a really good ability, especially for putting in bushes, waiting on people to come. You can put it in front of you in case someone has to try to come towards you. One thing I always like to see is when you have a Blitzcrank with you as support, to put one down and he pulls the person into the trap, and then they're stuck under the tower for 2 seconds. So
then they get knocked up, and
then you're dead.
One of the things that you see a lot in lower elos with Caitlyn's is people aren't really that observant, so you can put these traps in bushes, especially for junglers when they try and gank your lane. They're going to be looking at your lane. They're not going to be paying attention to where they are on the map. They're just going to click the bush, and they're going to run to that bush, and they're going to look at your lane. Oh, okay, it's a good time to gank now. And as soon as they run into the bush, they trip on the trap, and then it shows up even if you don't have a ward, or at least it'll stop them in their tracks to give you a little bit of time to get out of there.
Speaking on that, a lot of people don't pay attention to anything at low elos. You can put the trap directly where they're standing if they're not moving, and they'll just stay there.
I've seen that before.
I've done that before.
I'll place my traps.
Is one of the things that I've seen a lot of people do is they'll place traps underneath the enemies, like turrets, because Caitlyn's notorious for just pushing lanes hard, because she does so much damage. And
she does a lot of damage, and you can stay at a range.
Yeah, and she can stay at a range. So usually the wave's underneath the enemy's turret, and what they'll do is they'll trap underneath the turret so that they're taking that damage, and then, like I said, she'll hit them with the Q or something like that. But she'll always be out of range of the turret for the damage, so she can still poke at them at a safe distance. So I've seen them do that a lot.
One of the good places to place traps also is, just think of where most likely you're going to have a team fight, and where the most traveled areas will be, especially when you're talking about bot lane, on those walls that are just above you, kind of by the tri-bush. There's always going to be somebody running through there. So if you can just catch one enemy, that 1 second will be just long enough for you guys to make an escape sometimes.
And another thing with that is, yes, her traps illuminate the area and it shows where the enemy is, but you still have to be paying attention. You can't have tunnel vision on what you're doing in the lane, because if you trap, let's say the tri-bush that's behind you, and someone runs over it and you're not paying attention, even though it gave vision, if you're not watching, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Because it's only for 1.5 seconds or whatever the duration for the visibility is. So it's still, you gotta be watching that mini map, because I was watching a video Trick was talking about, and he gave it a pretty good explanation of like lower elos and what the mini map looks like, and he shrunk it down to where it was like a centimeter by a centimeter. And when you get in tunnel vision, that mini map will feel like that. Because I've been there, man. I know how it is. Like you'll get so focused on doing one thing, and then like next thing you know, you have two people ganking up right behind you. And if you would have just paid attention, you would have seen it coming.
Yeah, if you need to train yourself on map awareness, start jungling. Because when I'm in the jungle, I'm not even looking where I'm going half the time. I'm just staring at the mini map and clicking on that. So, yeah, map awareness is really important for every lane.
If you play like a dueling lane, like I play mid a lot, because I still have really bad map awareness. It's one of the reasons I'm still in silver. But a lot of the tips that I hear are, after every CS that you get, look at your mini-map. Okay, I got a CS, look at my mini-map. Look at, CS, mini-map, CS, mini-map. And just that way, you kind of grow accustomed to constantly looking and glancing at your mini-map.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to her next ability. Her E is called 90 caliber net. And basically, it knocks her back, and it shoots a net forward to slow anything that it hits. So...
yeah,
this is a great utility spell that she has, because there are so many ways that you can use this.
Yeah,
so,
it's one of the biggest, like, one, disengagers, and two, escapes that you can, I think any ADC really has, besides maybe like Ezreal. Because, like Ezreal, you can basically jump over a wall with this ability, or you can use it to slow somebody down. So it's really useful. It can be used both offensively and defensively.
Yeah, I mean, the disengage ability for this, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, I, as a support and trying to go in on a Caitlyn can be wildly frustrating, because you'll try and, hit them with your E, and then she'll either net away from it, or she'll drag you with her net that when you go back with her. So you'll be way out of place, and then it's hard for your ADC to catch up with you. So I can tell you right now that when used correctly, she can evade a lot of pressure that'll be on her. So say she's in the river trying to get dragon, and then everyone collapses on her, she can just go over the wall. I mean, she can get away from just about anything if played correctly. I mean, you can't just fire the net and just fly over a wall. It takes a little placement and a little practice to get used to it. But I mean,
I know. When you said that, I just remember all the times that I've like been in like an intense team fight. And I think I've done it quite a few times when you were supporting me. And it's such an intense team fight that I try and, I auto attack and then I click back to kite away. And then I'm trying to net also. And what I'll do is I'll net the complete opposite direction so that I net myself into their team and just give them like a free kill. Yeah. And I'm just like, fuck, like.
Yeah, because like most of your abilities, you want to point them to where you want to go. And this one, you want to point to the opposite, basically what happens. Because when you shoot her net, you'll shoot it forward, and she goes backwards. And so I've done that too, where I want to go back, so I'll aim backwards because that's the way I want to go. And then the net will shoot back, and I'll go back towards the enemy team or wherever the threat is. So, yeah, I've been there. And the same thing with like walls. Like if you aren't close enough, it'll be like a flash. Like if you're not close enough to the wall, you'll just bounce into it, and then you're just kind of looking there like an idiot.
You're and you better turn that all chat off, or else you're gonna get flamed hard. Like, okay, so this ability really reinforces my point of why I think Caitlyn's a really good starter ADC, and that's because this is a really forgiving champ in the fact that she can disengage so easily. Since you have such a long range, and the fact that you have basically like a mulligan skill where, I made a mistake here, I just need to get out of here, and you just use it real fast.
Sounded like you said mulligan.
Mulligan.
Like we went to the mall again.
Oh, mulligan.
Went to the mall again.
Mulligan.
Mulligan.
But, yeah, some things that I noticed with this ability, when there's a team fight going down, and you're the ADC, if the other team knows what they're doing, they're gonna try to kill you right off the bat. That's what everyone tries to do, is just focus the ADC, focus the damage source, get them out of the fight, and then clean up the rest. But with this ability, when you see yourself getting focused, you can just kind of E out and slow the other person, and usually they're gonna be in the middle of your team at that point, and they can't catch you because you just eat out. So they're going to be taking a ton of damage from your team, and you can just start hitting them from the back. You can usually get a kill when they try to engage on you like that, and you can just kind of kite them into your team. Your team's damaged them, you're damaged them, and then they're down a tank, and they're pretty much screwed at that point.
Especially when they get greedy. They'll get so greedy they'll just try and dive you, you just slow them, and you just like run away as your team kills them.
Yeah, and another thing is, if when you have it up again, usually at the end of a fight, you can use it to get in range of kills. If it's safe, you should do that. If it's not, you shouldn't do that, because greed gets you killed a lot.
Yeah.
If you're doing it to like clean up, like if your team fight is pretty much won, and then their team is scattering, and you need to get over a wall because they flashed, or you need to get a little bit closer so you can use your ultimate or something, or your Q, or one more last auto attack, or ignite, or not ignite, but any other ability that you need to get a little bit closer, then I would say use it. But I wouldn't say every situation I would use it to get closer to the team. It's got to be where you almost are guaranteed to get that last kill without dying yourself.
Yeah. All right, her last ability, it's called Ace in the Hole. It's her ultimate. She marks an enemy champion, and she channels for 1 second, and then she shoots a projectile to hit him. But it can be blocked by other champions. And one thing I just want to call this is the damage it can do. It's got a 2.0 ratio for attack damage.
Yeah.
So
that's crazy.
Rank 1 does 250 damage, rank 2 475, rank 3 does 700.
That's going ham.
Yeah, going ham. 700.
And that brings up, like, with Caitlyn, if you fall behind, it can be pretty upsetting, because she depends so much on just raw attack damage that like if you fall behind, that I know Josh, you've seen me hit some people with my R on Caitlyn, and it just literally, like at level 6 I think, and I don't have
bounces off of them.
I won't have a BF sword yet, and it's just like dink, and they're just like,
It's like cool old bro.
Yeah, they're like,
it's like, that's cute. Let me just go back
that
now.
Really hurt.
Let me go cry myself to sleep tonight.
But yeah, so you'll see a lot of videos on. I think I watched a video the other day where a Kha'Zix got marked by Caitlyn, and he jumped over a wall and then flashed behind his friendly Orianna.
It was a Lee Sin.
It was Lee Sin?
I think so.
He flashes behind Lee Sin, so Lee Sin ate the ult, and it killed Lee Sin.
Yeah, basically Lee Sin was safe, and the Kha'Zix he jumped over the wall, then flashed right behind the Lee Sin, so it just hit the Lee Sin like square in the face and killed the Lee Sin. And I would have been so mad if he did that to me. I'm like, oh, cool, man.
Yeah, but you'll see, like, you'll see when you're playing like solo queue or with your friend, you'll see who's paying attention, because as soon as that locks onto you and you know that's going to kill you, you'll see your friend, dive in front of it and take that shot for you. And that's what a good player will do. So
I've also seen things where someone aims at somebody at the back of the line, and
they all
the
move.
other person's everyone trying to get in front of it. Like, I've seen it to where someone's flashed in front where the bullet would go, and the other person flashed so they would be flashed away, so they would be behind the other person. And they just switch places, and it kills the person anyway. So it's like the funniest thing ever.
It's kind of one of those things that's really hard to coordinate, especially when you're not on like some sort of voice comms or something like that.
You just kind of...
You want to make sure you're not dying, and maybe they're trying to be the good guy and trying to make sure you're not dying, so you both do abilities that'll switch places, essentially, and then you just die anyways.
Yeah, you gotta...
That teamwork, something that's very rare in our ELOs.
And that Caitlyn ult can stir up a lot of mad on the enemy team. Trust me.
Like, why you didn't block that shit, you fucking idiot?
And that can like destroy a team. Just by like one ult can just destroy everything. Like, I seen you standing there, you didn't even move. You could have stepped in front of it and taken that damage. You're full health.
Ja.
And it's like, man, dude.
Wait.
Yeah, and then you'll see it on the all chat. So and so is so bad, couldn't even block Kato. Like, go back to paper bag 65.
Yeah, but so that's all her abilities, and we've talked about
kind of her
some
play
of them
style,
individually. Right? Yeah, but her abilities can also work really well together. I've seen one video where someone ran into a tri-bush, and they were getting chased by a Vayne, I think. So they ran into the tri-bush to put a trap in the bush, waited for her to tumble in. She tumbled onto the trap, so as soon as she tumbled on the trap, the Caitlyn used Q to hit her with it and hit E directly afterwards. So she hit her Q and E at almost the same time. So hit her with that Q damage and E'd away. So she was slowed and stuck there and then immediately went into an R. So she took out like half her health and killed her when she was almost dead just by using all her abilities smartly.
Yeah.
So even though she is one of the easiest champion or ADC champions, in my opinion, to pick up, she's one of those easy to learn, hard to master kind of thing.
Yeah, you can definitely tell the difference between a good Caitlyn and a great
You can tell
Caitlyn.
the difference between a good Caitlyn, a great Caitlyn, and a bad Caitlyn.
Yeah.
Especially a bad Caitlyn.
Yeah.
All right, I think that'll cover our champion spotlight. So now we're going to move into our special segment this week.
So, guys, maybe next week we'll get to talk about Galio. Yeah.
Yeah, the best champion in the world.
Everybody plays Galio, right?
Are you sure that people can handle Galio? I don't think they can.
I don't know how you make that champion work, dude. I don't understand it.
Because no one expects it. All right, but our
rude.
special segment this week, this is going to be where we focus on kind of an aspect of the game, usually like laning, team fights, warding, anything like that. But instead of that, this week we're going to talk about the pro scene a little bit. None of us really follow the pro scene very much. We just kind of watch matches every once in a while to see what's going on.
Yeah, we watch the LCS, so.
Yeah, we watch it, but we don't follow it like
it's not
really
like,
deeply.
You know, like for me, I love football, and I watch it every Sunday. It's not like that where I'm like, oh, LCS is on, better watch every single game.
Yeah,
and
better
like,
watch every game.
cheer and scream. It's just like, oh, cool, TSM's playing. I guess I'll watch a little bit of their game.
Yeah. So we watched the match today. It was Team Solo Mid, TSM versus Team Coast.
Yep.
And I'm not sure what was TSM's kind of record going into this match.
11-1, I think.
Yeah, they had won like 8 games in a row or something.
Yeah, basically they lost their first game of the season, and then they won every single one after that. And then TSM won in this match. I think it was like a 93% prediction that TSM would
fans
win.
were like, oh yeah, TSM's got it.
Yeah,
Well, Coast
and
is also last in the LCS right now, I think, or was. Before the game.
I know they've risen up because they won their last 2 matches before this.
Okay.
But anyway.
They're on the bottom of the bracket.
Yeah, they were pretty close to the bottom. So everyone was
Underdog.
expecting TSM to just win this really easy, and they lost. They got destroyed early game, and then Team Coast just kind of used that slight advantage to get ahead just almost the entire thing, and then they almost threw the game through a couple team fights. But then they came back and won it. So it was just the craziest thing. Yeah.
Too real.
So,
Maybe that's what we could talk about today. Maybe some sort of like split pushing. Something like that. That's a tactic used.
yeah. And actually, Team Coach kind of specializes in split pushing. Like, the last couple matches, it was Zion Spartan is his name. Their top laner was played Jax. And while the rest of the team was focusing one lane, he just kind of go off by himself and just his teammates would engage, and he'd just kind of go off by himself to take a tower or take an objective while they were distracted. And if anyone went after him on Jax, then he would get away, and then their other lane would be open for this. And they didn't do that for TSM because they banned Jax against them. But they pushed bottom tower while TSM was getting Baron and managed to get an inhibitor. So the minions were split pushing.
I don't think they even got the Baron that time.
No, they didn't.
But they were trying to. And,
yeah, they were trying to get the Baron.
Basically, this strategy works like really, really well in low elo, where everybody will be so concerned with the team fight middle or top or wherever that one of your strong bruisers or somebody who has a lot of attack damage will split to a lane where nobody's paying attention to them, and they'll just push it all the way. They'll shove the lane, and it can win games.
It can also lose games
at
low elo, because at low elo, even though it's really strong to split push, it's also really dangerous because you have to rely on your teammates. And at low elo, relying on your teammates is almost the worst possible thing you can do. Because
but
in your mind, you're like, all right, it's a 4v5. Please, team, don't engage while I'm split pushing.
As long as you just like poke and just sit back and just like,
just
don't
poke at the other team.
Engage, man.
Yeah, don't engage. And you'll have like some fucking Leona or something who's like, oh, this is a perfect time to go in by myself. And they'll just like, and then she goes in, so the rest of the team is like, well, I gotta fucking go in, and it'll just be a 4v5, and your whole team will be murdered, and you're like, you fucking idiots. And then they'll be like, GG, Tryndamere wasn't with us or some shit.
Yeah, and they
it's like, I'm
blame you.
split pushing, you fucking retards.
Yeah.
It can either win games or lose games.
One of the
it's a
things
toss-up
with
at low elo.
split pushing is to be a legitimate split pushing champion. You have to have a strong wave clear. You have to be able to like just clear waves like they're nothing. And the second thing that you have to have is a lot of damage to where you can just knock a tower down really fast. The problem that I see the most in like my elo right now is people who try and like split push Garen when they're building tanking. They can E and they can spin on a wave and clear it, but once they get to the tower they're just like fucking hitting it with a wet noodle.
The funniest thing is when you see people try to like spin to win on a tower.
Oh god!
Do anything,
especially when they're taking tower damage.
Yeah, they're just like, this is totally gonna knock down this tower.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you're not doing anything.
Chopping it down like a tree.
You're wasting time. What are you doing?
You can call me.
So
Adrian.
yeah, like usually it's the top lanes that are gonna do the split pushing.
Yeah.
And it's only a certain
or your ADC. I've seen a lot of ADC.
Or the
split
ADC
pushes.
can do it, but like for top lane, it's only certain champions like. Trundle can split push, Jax can split push, Tryndamere can split push.
Anybody that has a lot of attack speed for the most part.
Yeah, attack
Elise
speed and
can.
attack damage. Like
Elise.
Oh
yeah, Elise can.
Elise has a ridiculous because of her spider's
spider
attack
point.
speed. Yeah,
Jace,
she can
he can
burst
do
one.
it.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people in top lane that'll split push, and with the Team Coast, they were using Jax to split push, except against a TSM match where they took the inhibitor, and basically the minions were split pushing for them. And it was weird watching that match because you saw the minions coming in and like going to their Nexus turrets, and as soon as TSM started to like fall back from the tower that Team Coast was at, and to try to get some of the minions off the tower, that's when they engaged. They wanted to keep them focused on the team, so the minions were pushing for it. So it's one of those things where I've heard about it before, but I'm not sure of the official name, where you want to force the other team to have to make a decision, but no matter what, there's going to be a negative choice.
Right.
Yeah.
So like they could either stay there and defend their main turret or their base turret from the Team Coast, or they could go get the minions and defend their Nexus turret, or they could try to split their team up when their whole team was there, and that was a bad thing too. They didn't have any good way to go about it, basically.
Lose-lose.
And that brings up another like point that you see whenever you're playing a game. I know Trick talks about this a lot in his videos and on his stream. Is you know, the game's about objectives. So if you see somebody, I remember in the game today, Coast basically won a team fight and they were taking Dragon. It was like 5 people at Dragon, and TSM had like 2 people left, and TSM knew, okay, they're going to take Dragon. Well, we can shove this mid lane and we can take a mid tower right now, and that's what they did. So they ended up trading a tower for Dragon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you'll see a lot of times when people, like in lower elos, like the team will be taking Dragon. Well, the other team is like, well, we got to go contest it. We have to steal this Dragon. It's like, no, dude, just push your lane.
Just let them have it.
Tower.
Right.
Yeah, just let them have it. It's going to be a 5v2 or a 5v3 or something, and you're going to lose, and you're going to take 3 deaths.
Or
plus
even
they're
if
gonna
it's
take
just
Dragon.
like clearing their jungle out so that their
Yeah.
jungler gets, maybe just loses some experience and has to make a desperate play when he comes back out of
Yeah, if your
base.
team is too late to react to something like that, then you need to just push your lane. Especially like one thing that frustrates me is like when another lane, like a solo lane, like say mid or top, the person they're playing against disappears, right? And they come and gank another lane. Instead of like them, like, oh man, I see him down at bot lane now. Let me travel 5 minutes to get down to bot lane and then help him out. Instead, you can just push your lane and take a tower.
Right.
Because you don't know if that gank is going to be successful or not. You going down there isn't going to change that until it's too late. So you might as well just do something
you have to
productive
kind
and
of
take a tower.
You have to kind of
Or at least do
assess like the
damage.
situation where it's like, okay, what's the risk and reward over this? What could possibly happen, and what's almost like a guaranteed thing that's going to happen.
Right.
Like, okay, he's going to go down there, so I can either go down there and maybe counter gank him, or I can definitely take this tower right now.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of you have to weigh your options. Sometimes you do want to follow him down there, though.
Right.
Like
Because if you can turn that around, then you push bottom tower or whatever.
Yeah, and you've denied farm to their ADC or their top or wherever you're going, and that it can even become a greater gain. Instead of just taking the tower, you could kill them and take a tower. So it's one of those things that you have to weigh. But going back to split pushing,
Okay.
I just really want to re-emphasize that if you're on a team and you have a split pusher, don't engage in 4v5. This happens every time I go to split push, and it frustrates me so much.
And if it takes you 5 seconds to type it out, too, it's just like, hey, guys, look, I'm going to split push. Don't engage them. And if they disappear, then we can try and gank them at some point. Or, if they say, no, don't split push, then just, you have to bite the bullet at that point and just be like, well, fuck, they're not going to.
If your team doesn't want you to split push, then you need to just go team fight. If your team thinks that they can win a team fight, it's better to do a team fight than to split push and then your team go against a 4v5.
Right. It's an unnecessary risk.
Yeah.
And you want to avoid those as much as
if your
possible.
Team doesn't engage, but if they do, then you're screwed. Because then it's going to be a 1v5 or a 1v4, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. The best time to split push is when the other team is using the turtle defense that I've seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Because basically you have your team on one side of the map, you're by yourself over on the other side of the map. They have to pick where they want to set up their turtle defense. So they've either got to send somebody to stop you, or they've got to send their team to stop you, or they got to keep their team to stop the rest of your team. Yeah. The turtle defense is something that basically the other team's down. They know they're down. They're going to sit in their base until sit in their base until you make a mistake, and then they're going to try to capitalize on it.
The strength of the turtle defense is the fact that they basically use a tower as an extra person. So it's basically like fighting a 5v6. So if you can split them thin, and basically, force them to send one or even two people to stop your split pusher, because a lot of times the split pushers will be really strong.
Should be somebody who can 1v1 somebody else.
So then if you have a 4v3 situation in that, that main lane that your team's in, they may be able to dive on the other team and possibly get a kill in a tower. So that's what it kind of breaks up their solidity on their team.
Right. Another thing that when you're split pushing is I hate whenever I'm, trying to help out with a split push and I'm with the team and we're trying to defend the tower or whatever. And then we're pinging like, hey, the team is coming for you. And the dude is still, he's like, well, I can get this tower. And he's just like whacking away at the tower. And the whole team just engages on him. Mm-hmm. And it would be a 5v1. And then he's dead. And now it's seriously a 4v5. So they can come back and push whatever lane and probably take a tower.
Now, sometimes
when you're split pushing, you just got to pay attention, though.
Sometimes those are worth it, though, too. It's weighing your options and saying, hey, if I take this tower, then it leaves their inhib open. I'm going to probably die. If I die, can the other team make it to our base before I'm up, and can we, fight them by the time I'm back up again? Yeah. You have to really think about what's going to happen.
If all your lanes are pushed and you have to go up top and you're split pushing, and you can, maybe if you even don't get a tower, but you give your team enough time to take Dragon or maybe even Baron or a tower in another lane.
You're distracting them, basically.
Yeah, you're a distraction. So even if you don't get that tower, if you can set it up for your team to take another objective, then your death is worth it.
And you'll see a lot of assassins like LeBlanc or Nidalee, somebody like that, where they can just constantly juke the other team, and they dedicate 3 people to chasing your one assassin while you're just jumping around.
About chasing. But for split pushing, if you want to be a distraction, that's fine. But I don't think just throwing yourself into a turret just to potentially distract him for a little bit, I don't know if that's all that worth it in the long run. Because say you get Dragon, but you're still down for 50 seconds.
Yeah,
the team can group together 5v4, push mid, and potentially get an inhibitor.
And that's where map awareness comes into play. Yeah,
that's the map awareness. If all your lanes are pushed and the other team's not going to have enough time to really get any objectives or take any capitalize on your death, then
it might be worth it to take that risk.
Yeah, your death might be worth it to just get as much damage as you can on a tower. The other team gets distracted. Your team's taking an objective somewhere else on the map. So you might just be like, hey, I'll take that death for the tower.
So I think what we've kind of figured out when we started talking about this is, split pushing is really effective in low elo, especially because it makes the other team make a decision, like a very fast acting decision on little information. Yeah. And when you have low caliber players like me who we're not used to seeing it, it's just you're just oh, what do I do? What do I do? And it becomes a panic thing.
Yeah. And another thing is, at low elos, team communication is almost non-existent. So it's not only a split-second decision, and it's something they might not be used to. It's a split-second decision and something they may not be used to, and also no one else knows what the fuck is going on.
Right.
So, one person might just kind of split from their team by themselves to go get you, who's taking a tower, and nobody else is going to follow him. You might be able to kill that person, still take the tower, and then it's a 4v5. You've taken a tower, and now you can go join your team in mid and take mid or something.
Right.
It's just one of those things where you have to weigh it. If you're way behind and your team's about to get jumped on by the other team, and all your lanes are pushed back to your base, and you can't really do anything, it's probably not worth it to go try to split push something.
Yeah.
Probably need to be with your team. But it's one of those things where if the other team's in a turtle defense or something like that, and you're not finding any openings, and it's just kind of back and forth, and the game's getting dragged out, go split push. Go take an objective somewhere else on the map.
Try something new, because whatever you're doing now is not working out.
Yeah, try something new, because whatever you're doing now isn't working. So it's just one of those things. Like we said at the beginning, kills don't matter. Kills exist so you can set up objectives. Objectives are what wins the game. If you've got 100 kills and the other team has 5, it doesn't matter if your Nexus blows up. The kills don't win. So that's just something.
You don't get a consolation prize.
Yeah, you don't get a consolation prize for having the most kills. It's
here's some elo just because you did well.
Yeah, you went like 10-0, but even though you lost, you played a really good game. Have some elo. Go up in rank. No, it doesn't work like that.
Actually, I gained elo today for losing. I shit you not, dude. I was so baffled at it too. Okay, so I was at 0 LP in my division, right? And I dodged a game. And I was like, fuck, as soon as I dodged, I was like, fuck, that's going to drop me down a division. I logged back on, and I was -3 LP in my division. Showed up on the league and everything, like on the bracket. I was -3 points. I was like, what? All right, whatever. And then I went and I played a game, and I lost. And it gave me 3 points to put me at 0 LP.
So stupid.
So, just saying.
When you get so low, sometimes the game just gives you breaks.
Only way you can go is up.
Thanks, Riot. You're not Scumbag Riot anymore.
Yeah, now you just have to fix your servers.
Right, no shit.
Oh, God, that's another thing. Their servers have been so shitty. Why?
Over the last, 2 weeks, I think?
Yeah. I haven't played nearly as much ranked as I wanted to, just because I'm like, okay, I haven't played in a couple days. Let's see if their server's fixed. And then, like last night, first ranked game I've played in a couple days because I've been busy with school and stuff. So I'm like, all right, let's play ranked. Get in the game, instantly lagging, get kicked from the game, can't reconnect, kicked. And I'm just like, God damn it! Why is this shit happening?
I finally reconnected to that game, and the 3 people on the other team were still connected, and they were at our inhibitor at that point.
Yeah, so
Jeez.
We didn't get a loss
and can't even
either.
reconnect,
Cool.
and then the other team wins because they had less disconnects enough, and then we never get the loss prevention. How many games have we lost just because we can't connect to the fucking game? I know we lost a threes game. We lost that one last night.
Oh yeah, I remember that threes game we played where it was me versus 2 of them on the other team.
Yeah. No, it was 3. It was eventually 3.
Yeah.
So it was a 1v3. I could barely get in and see what was happening sometimes. And then they just wait until Zeisma went out, kill him, and then just take everything. It was just bullshit. Riot, you got millions of dollars. Just get servers to work, please. That's all you got to do.
Good
Is it that
soundbite.
hard?
That's all. That's all.
That's our public service announcement.
Yeah, our public service announcement for the week. So we'll give you that one for free.
All right.
All right. Well, I think that's the show this week, everybody. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to use the same website for this podcast as we do our other one.
I think Jake was talking about it, and he said that it would have to be under the same name, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah, so we're still kind of figuring out a website, but we'll get it up as soon as we can. We don't have an email set up either, so we don't really have any way for you to contact us yet.
It should be on iTunes also, so they can comment.
Yeah, once we get this up, and it should show up on iTunes, and then we'll start you can comment on that, you can rate and subscribe to us on that, and we'll try to respond to any comments or ratings that you guys have. Any questions you have, once we get an email up, you guys can email us, and we'll respond to questions right now. But we also have another podcast. It's called the Mediocreleaguecast, where it's all of us plus somebody else named Not Busy Enough, where we just kind of talk about video games in general, not just League of Legends.
That's a good plug.
Yeah, so if you guys go to mediocregamecast.podbean.com, you can find that there. It's also on iTunes. So, yeah. And also you can follow me on YouTube at ToGhost132. Our Are you still Trollerman on YouTube?
I have a few league videos, youtube.com/Trollerman with 2 N's on the end, but I'm going to be switching back over to Zeismo. So
Okay, so it's Trollerman right now.
yeah, in the next few weeks it'll be switched back over.
Be on the lookout for Zazmo.
Be on the lookout for Zeismo.
Bronze.
I try to put videos out as much as I can, but LOL Replay is screwed up right now, so I haven't put any new ones out in
with
about
the
a
new
week.
patch.
Yeah. But either way, this has been the Mediocre League Cap. This is Tigos 132 with Zeismo and Beastum, and we'll see you guys next time.
Later, guys.
It's fun.
Thank you.